This crypto bear market is bear marketing. I have not seen sentiment this bad. Even when we had the crypto contagion and FTX and everybody collapsed, sentiment wasn't this bad. It really, really wasn't. And a lot of it has to do with Ethereum, at least this week. People are freaking out because a lot of core Ethereum Foundation contributors have left. In addition to that, Harvard dumped all of their Ethereum ETF holdings. But in my perspective, I'm not worried about these stories any way, shape, or form. Because if Ethereum goes, a lot of other cryptos will go with it. Because again, a lot of cryptos are ERC20 tokens, and they're built utilizing Ethereum's technology. Which we can argue that all day long because most of them are trash, and no one said that they were great. A lot of these cryptos are to get in and out and make money. But either way, there's been an argument that Ethereum is sound money, and it's not sound money. In my personal opinion, Bitcoin is sound money. Each different crypto asset has their own utility, and Ethereum to me is a tool that you can improve your money experience with via smart contracts or different type of protocols, DeFi, especially DeFi when it comes to Ethereum. So I'm not necessarily worried about Ethereum going away, but let's go ahead and cover what exactly is happening. Large podcast that was super Ethereum focused, really popular on X, Bankless, apparently they sold all their ETH and they might be pivoting to different type of crypto content, which kind of makes sense because ETH has kind of been underperforming thus far. Like we all thought it was going to be $10,000. But at the same time, a lot of interest in crypto is on Hype, which is Hyperliquid, the kind of like commodities, tokenized commodities and stuff like that I've been telling you guys about, and also Zcash for privacy. And the reason why is that when the institutions are coming in, the institutions need some sort of privacy layer because they don't want to have to be honest with you. They don't want you to check in real time exactly what they are doing. And that's exactly what Bitcoin crypto was created for transparency. Yes, it's still semi-anonymous, but you can see everything on chain live. And that's one of the reasons why we crypto is because different from a bank, you can log on and check Binance's proof of reserves, or you can log on to your bank and you don't have access to that. Also too, when it comes to the ETFs, you can't tell who's selling and when they're selling, or if they're holding or when they're holding. And the reason why is because there's special times that they actually have to report, which we kind of figured out and we talked about with the 13F filings that showcased, I want to say, Goldman Sachs dumping their XRP and Solana holdings and then adding Hype. Not only do we not have a reason why they did it, but we don't have the exact time it happened because it's delayed. With crypto, it's on-chain and it operates 24/7, 365, which makes Ethereum so attractive, DeFi. But here's the stories. So the big one is Harvard selling off its entire $87 million Ethereum stake in just one quarter after buying it. But a lot of people aren't talking about Harvard also reducing their Bitcoin ETF holdings for a third straight quarter. They initially held 442 million in Bitcoin at its peak in 2025. Now they hold about 117 million, and this is through iBet. Now they did get rid of their Ethereum, which could be a little bit concerning, but it looks like they've kind of scaled back. You have to understand these big institutions, they will rebalance their portfolios, okay? They will take unrealized losses and gains, tax advantage. They do all of this very strategically, so I'm not surprised. And as far as the Ethereum Foundation devs that are leaving, I think there's about 7 of them that left recently, and that doesn't bother me. The reason why it doesn't bother me is because Ethereum's mission has essentially shifted. Like they were super focused on a layer 2s, which made absolute no sense to me, especially as somebody that deals in communication and marketing and whatnot, because again, when we're talking about marketing and we're talking about communication, we're talking about building something out to replace an existing system that's annoying. We want to make sure that it's at least the entry level is about the same. Like when you swipe a debit card, you don't think about it. But when you have to use Ethereum and you have to use a layer 2 and you have to bridge and do all these things, it doesn't make sense. So they didn't build it out with that in mind, which is a big problem in crypto. We can attribute a lot of failures in crypto to that. Now, with that being said, yes, I do hold a lot of Ethereum. This is a little bit concerning to me, but at the same time, we're in a bear market, okay? We're in a bear market. The Ethereum Foundation is essentially having to pivot, and you also have to understand whose hands are in Ethereum. BlackRock's. BlackRock only has 2 crypto ETFs, Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they would have not gone through all the trouble to get a big Ethereum ETF if they didn't believe in it. Now, there's a lot of questions about kind of what's going on with the foundation and the podcast and just like Ethereum in general, and that's fair. But at the same time, when we really think about it, a lot of people, I'm not understanding why people didn't think that the institutions were going to kind of change how we crypto, okay? Not only do they want to come in and kind of absorb everything and still create that barrier to entry like we do with the accredited investor law, but it's just changing everything. It's not going to be as transparent because you're not going to be able to track everything because the big institutions, now that they're tokenizing things, that information is still not available to the public. So we're in a really weird place in crypto right now where we're getting absorbed into traditional finance. We're going to have all these different laws and regulations that we're going to do. So DeFi is still going to be there, but it's going to be different than what we've seen in the past. Either way, I kind of wanted to put this out so that we're all on the same page. We know what's happening. If you're somebody that feels the need to rebalance your portfolio with Ethereum, like get rid of it, I want to know why. I'm curious to know your thoughts behind it. If you're somebody who's like, I'm just going to keep riding this wave, I also want to know why, because I'm trying to get a general consensus from everybody and not just focus on the headlines, because really at the end of the day, the headlines are headlines, but the numbers speak differently, especially when we're talking about Ethereum ETFs. Now, even though we did see a mass amount of about 504 million Ethereum ETFs get sold back into the market outflows, we've seen like record 10-day positive spell between April 9th and April 22nd. Ethereum ETFs brought in 633.5 million. So again, there is demand for Ethereum. It's just kind of changing because the institutions are involved. Goodbye.